Good morning. So I have been reading this letter from Mark Zuckerberg. He sent it to Jim Jordan, who is the chairman of this committee looking into online censorship. Right? So it was written on the 26th of August. I'll post a link to it. I'm going to read key parts from this letter, stuff that I think are key. He starts off with this. I appreciate the committee's interest in content moderation on online platforms. So he likes it. I wonder if this is true. And then he talks about COVID, and he says the government pressured him to censor people, and so he did. Okay, and including humor and satire. I know this. No, I was kicked out from Facebook, but I was there back then. Lots of people followed me on Facebook, and you couldn't say anything about COVID. Nothing, right? So, and now he says, I believe the government pressure was wrong. What kind of talk is this? Stupid, lame talk, right? Oh, I believe the government pressure was wrong. Why don't you say it as it is, This pressure from the government, this was bullshit. This was terrible. I believe it was wrong. And then he says, I regret we were not more outspoken about it. Yeah, I bet you are. That you regret it, I mean. And here's the key line. What I think is the key line in the whole letter. He says, we are ready to push back. That's right. We are ready to push back if something like this happens again. That's what he says. And then he talks about the Hunter Biden laptop story. They kept it a secret on Facebook, didn't they? You couldn't talk about the Hunter laptop story. Hunter Biden laptop. And now he says this. I know that some people believe this work benefited one party over the other. Here again, why don't you just say it? Of course it did. Now this was just before the US election 2020. And Hunter Biden laptop story, well, people were supposed to vote, right? They were going to vote. And you kept that story a secret, which it was a true story. Why don't you just say it? Oh, it's ridiculous, isn't it? Some people believe this work benefited one party over the other. Pathetic. Pisses me off. And then he says this, my goal is to be neutral, right? And not play a role one way or another, or even appear to be playing a role. So, I don't plan to make a similar contribution this cycle. Contribution. Interesting word right there, right? I'm not going to contribute the way I did in the last election. So what's your take on this? We can now go back. Right? We go back to Facebook now. All of us, those of us who left or were kicked out, we just go back to Facebook. What do you think? Right. No, I think he wants to be with the tough guys now. He wants to be a tough guy now, standing up against government oppression. He wants to be like X or Rumble or Telegram. He wants to be with these guys. And of course he wants to save his business. I think it's hilarious, really. It's great, though. The work of Jim Jordan and these guys. Fantastic. So now, well, we already knew it, right? The government pressure. Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and all these idiots, what they were doing, right? It's getting more and more official. That's what I like about it. Okay, Now there will be some changes to my channel, right? I have a new schedule, so there will be maybe, I'm not sure yet, 2 days every week when I don't make a video. So, just so you know, right? I'm not sure about it yet, but that's what I think. And another thing about my channel, you know, I get comments sometimes like this. Why don't you talk about this subject? Oh, you should have mentioned this one, you know? Or why don't you talk about Sweden more? You know? Things like this. And I want to set this very, very straight. I want to be very clear about this. If it's interesting to me, then I talk about it. That's the only thing. That's the criteria. You see, if I don't talk about things that are interesting to me, I get bored. So yeah, I don't owe you anything. You see, I don't get paid to do this. This is not some government agency servicing people. You see, I want to be very, very clear about this. So that's how it works. All right. But of course, I appreciate talking to you, right? I love it. So I will keep talking, but it's important for me to stay interested, you see. So that's why I talk about, you know, Justin Trudeau, because he's a fascinating guy. You know. The Swedish PM is just boring. You know, totally boring. The Swedish government is boring, you see. So I talk about them occasionally, but it's not very interesting. That's how it is. All right. Be good.